They called it the blind zone. Not because it was invisible on star maps, but because no one ever came back with a clear story. Official reports spoke of sensor malfunctions and navigational anomalies. Unofficially, there were whispers, crews who returned silent, pilots who resigned overnight, explorers who claimed the system changed them. The blind zone was a forbidden star system marked in red across every navigation database, a place commanders mentioned in low voices, usually followed by the same phrase, "We don't send people there anymore." And yet, there I was. My name is Isaac Moore, human exploration pilot, mission ID 7 Alpha 19. I had read every report, every warning, every fragmented testimony that survived declassification. None of them convinced me. To me, the blind zone wasn't cursed or haunted, it was undocumented, and undocumented meant opportunity. I had spent my entire career flying into places no one fully understood. Dead moons, collapsing orbits, systems declared too unstable by people who had never actually been there. Fear had a way of dressing itself up as logic. So when command briefed me on the mission, I barely reacted. Single pilot, long-range exploration vessel. Objective: enter the blind zone, map the system, record environmental and psychological data, return. Simple, clean, necessary. They warned me about mental strain, about isolation, about reported cognitive effects. I nodded at the right moments, signed the waivers, and ignored the tremor in the Admiral's voice when he said, "If at any point you feel compromised, you are authorized to abort." Compromised. That word followed me all the way to launch. As my ship drifted away from the last familiar beacon of human space, I felt calm, focused, almost relieved. Out there, beyond charts and expectations, things made sense. Controls responded, equations behaved. Space didn't judge you. People did. The blind zone was just another system, another job, another line in my record. At least that's what I believed, because no one had ever warned me about the most dangerous part of the mission. Not the system, not the stars, but the moment I would realize that the warnings were never about where I was going. They were about what I would be forced to face once I got there. The moment my ship crossed the outer orbit of the blind zone, I felt it. Not fear, not danger, awareness. The transition wasn't violent. No alarms screamed, no systems failed outright. Instead, the displays hesitated, as if unsure which numbers to show me. Star charts adjusted themselves without input, coordinates corrected by fractions I hadn't commanded. The ship was still obeying me, but it was also responding. I ran a full diagnostic. Engines nominal, life support stable, neural interface clean. Every system reported green. And yet, there was a pressure in my chest, subtle but persistent, like the space around the ship had grown heavier. Outside the viewport, the stars looked wrong. Not distorted, not broken, just unfamiliar in a way I couldn't immediately explain. Constellations I had memorized since training no longer aligned the way they should have. It was as if the universe had shifted its posture while I wasn't looking. I told myself it was perspective, relativistic drift, psychological priming. When you enter a place people fear, your mind looks for reasons to justify the fear. Still, my hands tightened on the controls. Then the ship logged something strange, a fluctuation in neural feedback. The onboard AI flagged it as insignificant, micro variations in my cognitive patterns, well within acceptable ranges. But the timestamps bothered me. Every spike coincided not with external stimuli, but with my thoughts. Whenever I remembered the warnings, the readings changed. Whenever I dismissed them,
They stabilized. I laughed under my breath. "You're projecting more," I said aloud, just to hear a human voice fill the cabin. The sound echoed a fraction longer than it should have. I adjusted course toward the first planet in the system, a cloud-covered world marked only by an alphanumeric code. No name, no history, just mass and gravity, an atmosphere waiting to be measured. As the ship aligned for descent, a final message from command finished downloading. Delayed transmission, probably stuck in a relay loop. I almost ignored it. Almost. The Admiral's face appeared on the central display. He looked older than I remembered, tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. "Isaac," he said, choosing my first name instead of my rank. "If you're seeing this, you've already crossed the orbit. I need you to understand something we couldn't put in the briefing." He paused, searching for words that didn't exist. "The blind zone doesn't affect ships, it affects people. It doesn't break instruments, it reflects minds." The message cut out. Static replaced his face, then silence. I sat there, staring at my own reflection in the darkened screen. For the first time since launch, doubt crept in. Not sharp, not overwhelming, just enough to be noticed. I told myself it didn't matter. Whatever this place was, whatever stories people told about it, I was trained for unknowns, for pressure, for isolation. I initiated descent. Behind me, the orbit closed like a door, and somewhere deep inside my mind, a quiet thought surfaced, uninvited, unwelcome, and impossible to ignore. What if the system wasn't testing my equipment? What if it was already testing me?
The planet had no name, only a designation, BZ-01. From orbit, it looked almost calm. Thick crimson clouds wrapped around its surface, slow and deliberate, like something breathing in its sleep. Atmospheric readings showed nothing immediately hostile, gravity within acceptable limits, no detectable life signs. On paper, it was safe. As my ship pierced the cloud layer, turbulence rattled the hull, not violent, but intentional, as if the planet was resisting my arrival. The clouds parted beneath me, revealing a vast surface of dark stone and endless plains tinted red by the filtered light of a distant star. I landed near a flat expanse, engines cutting off into an unnatural quiet. The silence bothered me instantly. Every planet has sound, wind, shifting ground, electromagnetic interference humming through instruments. Here, there was nothing. The kind of silence that presses against your ears until you become painfully aware of your own breathing. I suited up and stepped outside. The ground was solid beneath my boots, warm despite the lack of visible sunlight. The air was thin but breathable with assistance. As I walked away from the ship, each step echoed longer than it should have, as if the planet was memorizing my presence. That's when I heard it. A laugh. Soft, high-pitched, familiar. I froze. The sound came from behind me, close enough to feel personal, but when I turned, there was only empty land stretching to the horizon. My helmet filters showed no audio anomalies, no external source, and yet the laugh came again. I knew that sound. It was mine. Not now, but then, from a memory so old I hadn't thought of it in years. Summer evenings, scraped knees, a version of myself that existed before training, before command, before silence became easier than honesty. My heart hammered against my ribs. "This is stress," I muttered, "auditory hallucinations under prolonged isolation." Saying the words didn't help. As I continued forward, the environment began to shift, not physically, but emotionally. The air felt heavier, my chest tightened with a sense I couldn't name.
Images flickered at the edge of my vision, a narrow hallway, dim lights, a door slammed too hard. Then the voice came, not through the communicator, not through the helmet, inside. "Don't go in there." I staggered to a stop. That sentence hadn't been spoken in decades. It belonged to a night I had buried deep, sealed under layers of discipline and distance. A warning I ignored, a moment that taught me fear could be permanent. My hands trembled. The planet wasn't showing me random memories. It was choosing them, targeting the moments that shaped me, the ones I never processed, only survived. I checked my vitals, elevated heart rate, neural activity spiking, cortisol levels rising fast. According to protocol, this was the point where I should abort the surface mission. Instead, I kept walking, because somewhere beneath the fear, a realization was forming. This planet wasn't hostile, it was reflective. Every step forward pulled something loose from my past, dragging it into the open. The blind zone wasn't attacking my mind, it was removing the barriers I had built to protect myself from it. The laughter faded, replaced with a heavy, oppressive quiet. I turned back toward the ship, my legs weak, my thoughts tangled. When I reached the airlock and sealed it behind me, the silence broke at last. Not with sound, with relief. But as I removed my helmet and sat in the pilot's seat, one thought refused to let go. If this was only the first planet, what was waiting for me on the next one?
I didn't leave the planet immediately. Protocol said I should. Every psychological indicator was pushing into unstable territory, but protocol had never prepared me for a place like this. If I ran now, I knew exactly what would happen. The memories would follow me. Inside the ship, the air felt different, thicker, charged. The instruments were quiet, but my mind wasn't. Even with the hatch sealed and the planet reduced to a red sphere on the external cameras, I could still feel it, like a presence waiting patiently. I initiated a memory purge sequence, old recordings, personal logs, archived emotional data. The system responded with a warning, files corrupted. Then another message appeared, unprompted, access denied. I stared at the screen. I had full clearance. No external system should have been able to interfere with internal memory architecture, and yet the ship refused to let me erase anything. That's when the memories returned. Not flashes this time, scenes. I was standing in my childhood home again, narrow walls, dim lighting, the smell of recycled air and metal, a place that never felt safe no matter how many times my mother said it was. I could hear voices in another room, raised, sharp, familiar. I hadn't remembered the sound of that argument in years. My father's voice was louder than I remembered, or maybe my memory had softened it over time, filing down the edges so I could live with it. The blind zone had no interest in mercy. My hands clenched at my sides. "Stop," I said aloud. The ship didn't respond. The memory continued without my permission. The moment I froze in the hallway, the moment I chose silence instead of intervention, the moment fear taught me that staying quiet could feel like survival. That lesson had followed me into adulthood, into training, into command, into every decision where hesitation felt safer than responsibility. I slammed my fist against the console. The vision shattered, but not completely. It lingered in fragments, like broken glass reflecting pieces of myself I didn't want to see. The system wasn't just replaying memories, it was connecting them. Patterns emerged. Moments I thought were isolated incidents now formed a clear, uncomfortable line through my life. Avoidance disguised as discipline, distance mistaken for control, silence worn like armor. I understood something then that made my stomach tighten. The blind zone wasn't inventing anything. It was organizing me. Every unspoken fear, every unresolved moment, every choice I never revisited because it hurt too much to examine. The system wasn't overwhelming me with chaos, it was stripping away the order I had carefully constructed. I checked the mission timer. Time had passed faster than it should have. Another anomaly. I opened a channel to command, knowing it wouldn't go through. Static answered me, thick and unyielding. For the first time since entering the system, I felt truly alone, not physically, but internally. No rank, no distance, no suppression. Just me and everything I had never dealt with. As I prepared to lift off, one final thought settled heavily in my mind. The first planet didn't break me. It introduced me to the parts of myself I had abandoned, and something told me the next planet wouldn't be as patient.
The second planet was designated BZ-02. From orbit, it was nothing but water, a vast, endless ocean wrapped around the planet with no visible land masses, no islands, no breaks in the surface. Clouds hovered low, heavy and gray, reflecting dim light back into the water below. The readings showed stable gravity, breathable atmosphere with assistance, and, once again, no signs of life. I should have been relieved. Instead, a quiet dread settled in my chest. Water had always unsettled me. Not fear exactly, something deeper. Water hides things. It distorts distance. It makes you question what's above and what's below. Space, at least, was honest. Empty meant empty. This planet wasn't empty. As I descended, the ship's sensors began behaving strangely. Audio logs activated on their own, cycling through old mission data. At first, I ignored them. Background noise, residual interference from the blind zone. Then I heard my own voice, younger, less controlled. "I'll call when things slow down." The words hit harder than any alarm. That message had been recorded years ago, sent to someone I cared about deeply and never followed up on. I had chosen duty over connection, silence over discomfort. I told myself it was temporary. It never was. The ship touched down gently on the ocean's surface, stabilizers deploying to keep it afloat. The water around me was unnaturally still, like polished glass. No waves, no wind, no motion at all. I stepped out onto the observation platform. The horizon stretched endlessly in every direction, empty and accusing. As I looked down, I saw my reflection staring back at me from the water. But it wasn't current. The man looking up at me had deeper lines around his eyes. His posture was heavier, his gaze tired. He looked like someone who had carried regret for too long without setting it down. "You knew better," the reflection said. I staggered back, nearly slipping. "This isn't real," I whispered. The water rippled slightly, just enough to distort the image, but not erase it. "You always knew better," it continued. "You just chose what was easier." Memories surged. Missed calls, unanswered messages, moments where I could have stayed, spoken, fought, but didn't. I had convinced myself that distance was a sacrifice others would understand. Standing there, facing myself, that lie finally collapsed. The ocean began to move. Slow waves rolled outward from the ship, rhythmic and deliberate, like breathing. The planet wasn't threatening me. It was surrounding me, removing every distraction, every excuse. "You're alone because you chose to be," the reflection said softly. Not cruel, honest. My chest tightened. I wanted to argue, to justify every decision with protocol and logic and necessity, But none of those words came. The ocean didn't care about my reasons. It cared about the result. I shut my eyes, fighting the surge of emotion rising through me. When I opened them again, the reflection was gone. The water returned to stillness, but the damage was done. This planet hadn't shown me fear like the first one. It showed me absence, the quiet, cumulative cost of every time I walked away from connection to protect myself. As I retreated back into the ship, one truth followed me inside. The blind zone wasn't punishing me. It was asking me a question I had avoided my entire life, and I was running out of places to hide from the answer.
I didn't go to the third planet right away. After BZ-02, I stayed in orbit longer than necessary, watching the ocean world slowly rotate beneath me. My body felt exhausted, but my mind refused to rest. Thoughts looped endlessly, replaying words I hadn't heard out loud, yet felt carved into me. This system wasn't random. That realization settled slowly, like a weight finding its proper place. The first planet had stripped me down to fear, raw, instinctive, rooted in childhood. The second had confronted me with absence, with everything I had chosen not to fight for. Different environments, different emotions, same target, me. As I reviewed the mission data, a pattern emerged. Neural spikes aligned not with environmental stressors, but with emotional triggers. Memory recall intensified precisely when resistance increased. The system wasn't reacting to my presence, it was adapting to me. That's when the voice returned, not as a hallucination this time, not as memory, as something external. "Now you understand," it said. The sound didn't come from a speaker. It resonated through the ship itself, vibrating lightly through the floor, the walls, my bones. Calm, neutral, neither male nor female. I stood slowly, pulse racing. "Identify yourself." "I am not an individual. I am a function." A chill ran through me. A function of what? Of reflection, of filtration, of preparation. I demanded explanations. Who built it? Why humans? Why me? The questions poured out, sharp and desperate. The voice waited patiently until I finished. Then it answered only one. "Because your species does not explore space, you flee inward." The words hit harder than any accusation. This system was not designed to harm. It was designed to test continuity between mind and action. Those who arrive fractured cannot proceed. Images filled the air, holographic projections forming without command. Other pilots, other explorers, some calm, some breaking apart, some trapped in endless loops of memory, unable to move forward or back. They were not punished. They were incomplete, the voice said. I clenched my fists. So this is a filter? Yes. For what? There was a pause, the first one that felt deliberate. For what comes next? The implication hung heavy in the silence. This wasn't just about exploration. It wasn't even about humanity's readiness for space. It was about evolution, psychological, emotional, internal. You are not here to map planets. You are here to confront alignment, thought and choice, memory and action, fear and responsibility. I swallowed hard. And if I fail, then you will remain, it replied simply, as others have. For the first time since entering the blind zone, fear returned in full force, not sharp, but profound, not fear of death, fear of stagnation, of being trapped forever inside myself. The voice spoke again, quieter now.
The next planet will not show you your past. It will not show you absence. It paused. It will show you consequence. The channel closed. The ship fell silent once more. I stared at the coordinates for the final planet, my reflection faintly visible in the dark glass of the display. Everything I had buried, avoided, justified, it was all leading there. I understood then that the blind zone didn't exist to be survived. It existed to be faced, and whatever waited on the next world would not let me leave unchanged.
The final planet didn't announce itself. No turbulence, no sensor fluctuations, no emotional pressure crashing down all at once. As my ship approached its orbit, the systems remained stable, almost unnervingly so. After everything I had experienced, the calm felt artificial. The planet was dark, not lifeless, but restrained. Its surface reflected almost no light, absorbing the glow of the distant star like ink soaking into paper. There were no clouds, no storms, no oceans, just solid ground stretching endlessly beneath a sky that felt too empty. This world wasn't hiding anything. It was waiting. As I descended, I noticed something else. My neural readings were flat. No spikes, no interference. The system wasn't reaching into my mind anymore. That frightened me more than the voices ever had. I landed without resistance. The ship's engines powered down smoothly, and the silence that followed was absolute. When I stepped outside, the air was thin but stable. No oppressive weight, no emotional distortion. For the first time since entering the blind zone, nothing was being taken from me. I walked forward. In the distance, a structure rose from the surface. Simple, symmetrical, unmistakably intentional. No markings, no doors visible, just a geometric form that felt less built and more concluded. Every step toward it felt heavier, not because of gravity, but because of understanding. This planet wasn't about memory. It wasn't about fear. It wasn't about regret. It was about choice. As I reached the structure, an opening formed soundlessly, revealing a hollow interior. At its center stood a single chair, perfectly aligned beneath a narrow beam of light. I stopped. The voice returned, not echoing this time, but present, immediate. "This is where most of you stop," it said. I swallowed. "Because they're afraid?" "No," the voice replied. "Because they recognize themselves." I approached the chair slowly. There were no restraints, no interfaces, no visible mechanisms. "Sit," the voice said. I hesitated. Every instinct screamed that this was the point of no return, not physically, but internally. Sitting down meant accepting whatever came next, without distance, without denial. I thought of the first planet, the fear I never resolved. The second, the connections I abandoned. The truth the system had spoken aloud. I sat. The light intensified, and the world around me dissolved, not into memory, but into clarity. I saw the mission, the one I never allowed myself to fully remember. A damaged vessel, emergency protocols failing, a crewmate injured beyond immediate extraction limits, command pressure, limited time, limited options, and my decision. I had framed it as necessity, as logic, as survival, and in a way it had been all of those things. But the system showed me something I had never faced. Not the outcome, the moment. The exact second where I chose efficiency over responsibility, where I calculated loss instead of confronting it, where I told myself that moving forward was the same as doing the right thing. "You did not act from cruelty," the voice said. "You acted from fear." My chest tightened. "Fear of consequence," it continued. "Fear of disruption. Fear of carrying another person's weight." The memory shifted. I saw myself afterward. Promotions, commendations, silence. The way I never spoke his name again.
not out of respect, but avoidance. You survived, but you did not reconcile. I shook, blurring my vision. I didn't know what else to do. That is not the question, the voice replied gently. The question is whether you will continue to define yourself by that moment or finally accept responsibility for it. The light dimmed. The structure waited. No judgment, no punishment, only expectation. I understood then. This planet didn't decide my fate. I did. And for the first time in my life, running forward wasn't enough. I had to stand still and own what I had done.
I stayed in the chair longer than the memory required. The system wasn't rushing me. It never had. The images faded, but the weight remained, heavy, undeniable. For the first time, there was no new vision, no voice guiding me forward. Just silence, thick and expectant. This was the moment the others failed. I understood that now. Not because the truth was unbearable, but because accepting it meant losing the story I had told myself for years. The story where I was competent, necessary, blameless. I left him, I said aloud. My voice cracked. Not we, not the mission, I. The structure reacted. Not dramatically, not violently. The light above me softened, as if acknowledging the shift. The system wasn't listening for excuses, it was listening for ownership. I made the choice, I continued. I knew the risk, I knew what it meant, and I chose to live with it, without ever facing it. The words felt dangerous, permanent. Admitting them didn't erase the past, it didn't justify anything, but something inside me loosened, like a joint that had been locked for too long. The voice returned, quieter than before. You have named the action, now name the cost. I closed my eyes. I saw everything clearly. The career I built on forward motion, the relationships I never allowed to deepen, the emotional distance that kept me functional but hollow. I had been surviving, yes, but always at arm's length from myself. The cost, I said slowly, was becoming someone who never stayed. Silence followed. Then the structure began to change. The walls didn't collapse, they unfolded, sliding outward in smooth, precise movements. The chair beneath me disengaged, allowing me to stand on my own. The system wasn't removing me, it was releasing me. You are not being judged, you are being aligned. Aligned. Thought and action, memory and responsibility, fear and choice. I understood the final test wasn't about guilt. It was about whether I would continue defining myself by avoidance or accept that accountability was the only way forward. The voice spoke one last time. You may leave, but know this, awareness is irreversible. I stepped out of the structure. The planet looked different now, not brighter, not kinder, but honest. The sky remained empty, the ground still absorbed the light, but the oppressive stillness was gone. I felt present. As I walked back toward the ship, something settled inside me. Not peace, not forgiveness, but clarity. The understanding that survival without reflection was just another form of being lost. The blind zone hadn't taken anything from me. It had returned something I didn't realize I'd abandoned. The ability to stand still with the truth. And as the ship's hatch sealed behind me, one thought followed, calm and unshakable. Whatever waited beyond this system, I would face it as I was, not untouched, but whole.
Leaving the final planet felt different. There was no surge of relief, no triumphant release of tension. As my ship lifted off and the dark surface receded beneath me, I realized something unsettling. The blind zone didn't push you out. It waited to see if you were ready to go. As I set a course toward the system's outer boundary, the instruments began to unlock data streams that had been inaccessible before. Logs, sensor records, fragments of transmissions stored deep within the system itself. They weren't corrupted, they were preserved. Faces appeared on the main display: pilots, scientists, explorers from different generations. Some looked composed, others hollow. Some frozen in loops of half-finished thoughts, their recordings repeating the same phrases over and over. "These are the ones who couldn't leave," the voice said softly. It wasn't accusatory, it wasn't cruel, it was factual. "They reached clarity," the voice continued, "but rejected responsibility. Awareness without acceptance creates stasis." I watched one recording longer than the rest. A pilot sat alone in his cockpit, repeating the same justification again and again, explaining his choices, defending them, circling endlessly around the truth without ever touching it. The system hadn't trapped him, he had trapped himself. "How long have they been here?" I asked. "Time is irrelevant," the voice replied. "They remain because they choose continuity over completion." The words sank in slowly. The blind zone wasn't a graveyard, it was a mirror room. Some people couldn't stop looking at their reflection. As I approached the system's edge, something else became clear. The neural pressure I had grown used to was gone. No resistance, no influence. The system was no longer interacting with me. It had finished. "Why let me leave?" I asked. "Because you did not seek to be forgiven. You sought to be accountable." The last barrier dissolved. Stars beyond the blind zone realigned into familiar patterns. Navigation stabilized. The universe, unchanged and indifferent, welcomed me back without ceremony. But I wasn't the same pilot that had entered. Before the system went silent forever, the voice spoke one final truth. Exploration is not about how far you travel. It is about how much of yourself you are willing to carry honestly. The channel closed. No static, no echo, just space. As I crossed the boundary, I understood the real purpose of the blind zone. It wasn't there to stop humanity. It was there to make sure that when we moved forward, we didn't leave ourselves behind.
The journey home was quiet. No voices, no visions, no tests. Stars passed by the viewport in familiar patterns, but I watched them differently now. Not as destinations to conquer, but as places waiting to be understood. For the first time in years, the silence inside the cockpit didn't feel empty. It felt honest. When Command finally re-established contact, their questions came fast. Technical anomalies, psychological effects, navigation data. I answered what I could. Numbers were easy, coordinates behaved, but when they asked what the blind zone was, I hesitated. How do you explain a place that doesn't change space, only the person moving through it? So I told them the truth as simply as I could. I told them the system wasn't dangerous, that it didn't attack ships or mines, that it asked questions most of us spend a lifetime avoiding. Some of them didn't understand, others didn't want to. That was fine. Understanding isn't required to move forward, only honesty is. As Earth's signal grew stronger, I recorded my final personal log. Not for Command, not for history, for whoever would go next. I said this:
If you're listening to this, know that fear isn't what stops us from exploring the universe. Fear is what follows us there. The farther you travel, the less space you have to hide from yourself. Beyond the orbit of fear, there are no monsters waiting, no gods, no final answers, only the truth you carry and whether you're willing to stand with it. I ended the recording and let the ship drift for a moment longer before engaging final approach. The future would come soon enough. Missions, discoveries, new systems waiting to be charted. But whatever lay ahead, I would meet it differently now. Not untouched by the past, not defined by it, whole. And somewhere behind me, far beyond the reach of any map, the blind zone remained, silent, patient, unchanged, not as a warning, but as an invitation.